Up.
Here we go.
People. Here we go. We're doing it.
Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. I'm changing to blue.
Mario.
Changing to blue. I
Joe
like the blue names.
Bobby,
or do we like
around.
these?
Bobby
Do we like
Joe
the
Sway
square ones? I like rounded. I'm going rounded names.
I don't even see
like-
my name. What the hell?
You want to see it?
Blocked
Just real
by
quick.
the banner.
Make sure you spell my last name right.
I didn't put it in. You could be in there as
Good
Amit.
job. Good job.
Yeah. You could be in there as
You get a
Amit.
star.
Amit Bhattacharjee. Bhattacharjee.
Yes. Spell that
Come
one.
on. Doing
Our
some
producer.
justice.
Bhattacharjee.
The big A.
Shout out Amit.
Amit. Producer Amit in here doing heroes work, putting in the graphics because my computer's as old as I am. And
Wow.
we're here. We are doing it. Celtics lose. Topes lose. Yeah, Celtics lose. Every game has been close. Every game's been mildly entertaining. This is the Danny Ainge revenge game. The kids are all right, right?
Well, they did take an L.
They did take an L. But
Yeah, but Jimmy, you got to put it in perspective. You got Ime who's playing not his back line, but the line behind the back line. And Orlando is playing their rotation guys. Come on. And they won at the buzzer. Get out of here, man.
I
I
didn't know.
don't really care
but for
about.
the most
I don't
part,
care
yeah.
about the result.
I didn't know half of these guys
I don't
were
either.
were alive, let alone on the Celtics. Like I didn't know these people existed.
Who, Romeo?
know? No, the guys who were playing, I'm like, who's number
We didn't know you
51?
could
Oh,
wear
I
these
know.
numbers.
I know. We're talking about guys like they're football players.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Get eyes on 52.
There's guys out there with like triple digits on their uniform. You know, like that's how deep they went tonight.
I'm just glad nobody had this number behind me up there. Because it's like, wait, where's my
Well, it made me
my guy?
think.
Yeah.
They're pretty thin at point guard. I mean, Ryan Arcidiacono was like their number one when Pritchard went out.
What team
So
does
that
he
made
play
me
for?
think.
Ask us in a week.
You're
He'll be
making
one of
fun
the-
of you're making fun of my pronunciation of Amit's last name. What did you just call that guy?
Arcidiacono. That wasn't bad.
Arcidiacono. Yeah, it's not bad.
Close enough.
That's pretty
No,
good.
but they could use another point guard, and it's not him probably. So, like, that was my big observation after the Pritchard loss tonight.
Well, look, there's no Schroeder, there's no Smart tonight. You know,
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a fifth guy.
you're talking about your
Fourth.
point guard. Your
Fourth
fourth
guy,
point
okay.
guard's
You get-
probably Romeo. You know, or you're
Yeah, I
playing,
think they just wouldn't use a point guard in that
or you
situation.
play rotations with Tatum. Tatum bringing up the ball.
Well,
you
you
know,
had, you
like,
had
that's what
Tremont
you
Waters
do.
in that role last year, and he
It would
did
be
all
one of
right
your
in those
wings.
spots.
It would be one of your
All right.
wings, though.
That's-
One of
It'd be
your
a
wings
wing.
would be your
That's
de
enough
facto
Tremont
point.
Waters talk for the show.
that's it. We filled our
Hey,
quota.
he's with the champs. He's moved on to better
Yeah,
things.
him and Chevy.
I love Tremont.
So we'll talk a little about tonight. Again, we're not going to stay too late. It's a preseason game, but we'll sit here. We want to, you guys inspire us in the chat. Josh Richardson, someone pointed
do.
out, fourth point guard. I think that's a fair one as well.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, good point.
Yep. So Richardson, right? We're still getting used to these guys, but you're right. Richardson there. We'll talk.
So
talk a little bit.
Arcidiacono goes back to not mattering. Okay, next.
Yeah, we'll talk about the game. We'll talk a little bit about the Kyrie Irving drama that continues to unfold. It's obviously interesting. Ben Simmons returns. Did you guys see the Harden presser today?
Yeah.
I saw clips
I saw,
of it.
yeah, I saw clips of it
Ice-
too. Ooh,
icy.
you hate to see that.
But
You just truly
Harden
hate
is
to
one
see
of the
that.
best players in the NBA who can say so
Ever.
much with his facial expressions.
Yep.
It said everything. Like Kyrie,
Yeah.
I haven't
And
talked.
it brings you back to a year ago when we were wondering why Harden was even
I was
there.
just gonna say Harden had his own issues around this time last year, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And now it's his teammate,
So we'll get to that
Well,
in a bit. But let's
former
let's
teammate.
let's
I
leave
guess
it
you can't
tonight.
really
That's
call
good, yeah.
Kyrie a teammate anymore, right? He's not really allowed to be with the team.
Let's lead with tonight, and we'll get into that other stuff. First off, Jimmy watched at least 10% of the game, so we'll ask you first what you thought, Jimmy.
10 to 15. First thing that jumped out at me, Aaron Nesmith.
Yeah.
My guy, been my guy since day one. No, I'm not going to go that
By
far.
the
but
way, we've got Rob, we got Romeo with Sherrod. You're claiming Nesmith, and Bobby gets Grant. That's how we've divided.
That's how
I'm
this
fine
works.
with that. I'm fine with that now.
although
this is
John,
your night, Bobby.
Like
This
I
is your
said,
night.
you bought
I'm-
low on Grant, John.
I'm
I'm
excited to see Grant kind of rub it in the commenter's face this year because, man, they were ruthless to him last year. Some deservedly, but
He
oh,
was
at the-
good. He's been good in the preseason. I
Yes,
love the
he's-
slim and trim Grant Williams.
he's
All
bouncing back.
Well, let's not cut the line here. Neesmith, I think, deserves praise right off the top, or before
Pritchard,
Grant, before anyone else. I'll give the slight edge to Neesmith. You can bring in Pritchard, and those were the two guys, honestly, in summer league that kind of
but
really
Sparky's
stood
proved
out.
himself, though.
Sparky, we know about the spark plug. I just don't know how they're gonna. Hopefully, the nose isn't too bad. I mean, if you ever had a broken nose, you kind of put you out for a day or two, but you should be fine after that. Mask
the
Pritchard.
mask.
Mask Pritchard, as Amit brought up to us. That's going to be the next big thing for the next few days. But I thought Neesmith just looks good. His shot is, when it's on, it's on. Like he looks very comfortable. He's not second guessing the shot, and I just think that he's really becoming, kind of this second year is going to be huge for him. He's not coming in looking like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and not really ready for the spotlight. He's coming in with it feels like he's got a little bit more of a role that he understands. And he's kind of getting a little bit more comfortable, hopefully, with his own body so that he's not going to be flopping all around the court. But when he was out there tonight, him and Pritchard, and I know we talked about Romeo a little bit earlier. I mean, those three guys, kind of need to be the ones that step up and stand out. And I just think that they are doing that.
Well, let me ask you, let me put this out there. Tell me if, I don't know, read into this quote, if you will. Ime Udoka's praise for Neesmith tonight. And Bobby, you were listening to this, I think, before you jumped on here.
Yeah, with Ime.
And he said he's a very good complimentary player. I'm proud of him. That's not a bad. That's kind of a backhanded compliment. It's not a terrible thing to be, but a guy like Neesmith, a lottery pick.
Well, you know what he said? You know what he said
earlier. It'll come in there. Yeah. So give me some context on that, because at face value, it does not seem like a ringing endorsement. It's kind of like, yeah, he's a good little bit player we might use from time to time. And we're talking about a guy who you want to see fighting for legitimate rotational minutes up into the 18 to 20 range a night. But yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
We've kind of drawn a theme throughout preseason through Brad and Ime of the young guys kind of having an uphill battle, the opportunity on this roster. Need to earn it. The backhanded compliments, or even just the criticisms that Ime has levied at these guys, and he's obviously pretty loose with being honest and speaking his mind on where guys need to be better. You mentioned that comment on Neesmith. I remember asking about Neesmith earlier in preseason and hearing, we don't want him to be a liability on defense. That was like something he actually said about Neesmith early in the preseason. So they're being very honest, and I think kind of making these young guys really feel the pressure. You got to step up and earn this. It's not just going to be given you like it has been in recent years because of where the roster's been at. There's a strong veteran core on this team. And I think for Pritchard, Langford, and Neesmith, they're going to have to show out to, step in the games and roles on this team. And so far they have. There's a lot more poise with Neesmith and Pritchard in particular, I feel like, coming into this camp versus last year's, where they were erratic at times, kind of up and down all over the place, moving too fast for both of them at different points. I thought they both just kind of carry a stronger sense of confidence, I feel like, coming into this one.
That's my biggest takeaway by far. And Sherrod, I'm curious your opinion. Both Neesmith, you see, like I said, you got to slow it down for the kid. When he's going a million miles an hour, it looks really sloppy, and you get worried, okay, this isn't sustainable, because he could do so much damage in a short period of time that you can't trust playing him for long stints when he's just lost on defense, fouling friggin' every 10 seconds. But the confidence, and Romeo especially, Romeo looks way more comfortable this year in the couple of preseason games that we saw, and the stat line wasn't as impressive as the other night when he knocked down all those threes, but he's confidently stepping into threes. He took a great catch and shoot where his foot was on the line late in the game. He's dribbling and going to the hole. He's dribbling, going to the hole, and creating. And he's also that working in a little bit of a floater, which is a shot you have to have a little bit of confidence to take. But remember last year I was talking about, what do I want to see out of Romeo? 37% for corner threes, and get to your spots and get a little bit of that stuff. He was a guy who's a slasher. You want to see him get there. He has that long stride. It's almost, I'm not going to say like Pierce, but a little bit there where he can kind of, but he glides, he's got long strides, and he can get
Avery
places.
To Pierce.
No, I'm saying just in terms of the long, he's like a bit of a long strider.
So he's a B-level player?
I don't know what he is, but
that's what Pierce is, according to you.
Oh,
if you want me to dig up that video. If you want me to
Jimmy.
re-dig that video up, I will.
You don't have to dig it up. I'll say it all over again.
We've said it over and over again. Out of all the young players on this roster, the path to a role on this team is shortest for Romeo, just because of how much built-in respect there is for his defense. The slight playmaking hints you see from him, and then, like, I've said it ever since his first year. Like, there was all this noise around his shot coming in the league, and yes, it looked bad those opening weeks, but it's just really stabilized really fast. Like, when you think of Simmons and Fultz and some of these other guys that have come in with huge problems in that regard, and I know he's 0 for 3 tonight, but in summer league, 38%. Like you said, in a couple of these other games, knocking down threes in the corner especially. I think there's real potential in him at low volumes being able to knock down the 1 to 3 shots per game.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about Romeo. He's taking the damn shot.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that to me is a big part of the narrative around Romeo. The fact is he's actually trying to get better at something that is clearly an area of weakness in his game up to this point. And that's what you want your young guys to do. You know, the thing about Ime that I like is, even though Ime, from what I've heard, and Popovich even talked about this, he's not a drinker, but Ime is giving us some straight no chaser truth about his players when he talks about them. When guys are complimentary players, because that's what you know, our good friend Neesmith is going to be this year for this team. At best, a nice complimentary player. And he's, again, there may be nights where he'll go off for 20, but when he does that, it's more likely than not going to complement a Tatum or Brown or an Al Horford or someone else. And so that's being real. And as far as Romeo is concerned, he has to become a better shooter. He has to knock down open shots. I like the fact that Ime I think he's done a really good job of letting us see a little bit behind the curtain about what he's seeing and what he thinks needs to be improved upon. And guys, I don't think there's any confusion or guesswork as to what the coach wants from them, because he's letting them know pretty clear, you know, Neesmith, you need to be someone who can do certain things, but understand your role, that this is not Vanderbilt. You're not going to go out there and take 25, 30 shots and Jerry Stackhouse. I'm not Jerry Stackhouse. I'm not cool with that. You need to understand what you need to do well, be efficient, be someone that can, again, supplement what our core guys can do. And then over time, obviously, you can expound upon that and become a bigger part of what we do. But right now, he really does need to be a star in his role, and that role is to be a complement to Tatum and Brown.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. I was going to say pretty much just that, is that, you know, when we're talking about filling out this starting lineup, we're always trying to figure out who's the last, you know, 1 or 2 guys, you know, depending on the game, who are they going to fit in there. Well, there's a great option right there in Neesmith, and it's not because of, you know, his ability to be the superstar of the team. It's his ability to fit in around those guys and give the game what it needs on the offensive side. He can space the floor, or if he gets better, you know, slash into the rim. Not quite like Romeo.
He's my least favorite option there. Like, he really is.
But it is an option, though.
It's an option. And
wait, what are your rank your options then?
Double B.
Horford's number 1 clearly. I think eventually I want to get to a place where it's Pritchard. That's not the case right now, but that's my dream later in the season, just because of the spacing. Like, I think he's a better shooter than Neesmith than what we've seen so far, especially in that role.
Probably.
So then you kick Smart out of the point guard spot?
No, I'd play him next to Smart.
Okay,
kind of like
defensively,
Isaiah,
you're going to get
Kyrie.
murdered.
Yeah. I feel like
no, but that's further down the line. For right now, it's Horford, I feel like, just because, and this is what my problem
Well, it's not going to be Horford on next Friday, by the looks of it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Womp womp.
We'll get a good look at, like, what the final incarnation of that. I think Juancho's in play too. John said this, you know, when they did that, like, it's actually a decent stopgap measure there. You know, break into some other rotations as you go through the game, but then you have Hernan Gomez in that 4 spot just because he fits good next to the other guys. I'm going back to
what I said last game, because I'm starting to think it's most likely. It's hard to know if Horford or Jalen are late coming in. You have no idea, so it's going to be funky to start. But I really do think the core 4 and a rotational 5th based on matchups could be a very likely scenario for this team.
Yeah.
I don't know. He may think.
I think they're going to have an every night.
He may think that's the dumbest idea in the world. It makes sense to me, though.
It makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense because you can play a lot of different lineups.
Who has separated themselves from the rest of the pack. I mean, It makes total perfect sense.
Yeah,
Well, regardless of who's starting, we shouldn't get so hung up on it. But just those are going to be lineups, whether they're at the start of the game or at some point during the game. You could be the first. If Neesmith is the first guy off the bench, then he's going to be playing.
You just want to be in the top 8. You just want to be in that top 8 because if you're in the top 8, you know you're going to play, and you can play your way into more minutes if you're balling.
Right.
So
the starters
either way,
matter
because you're complimentary.
The starters matter because you're playing with starters, and your game is different when you're playing with starters, and you're going to get a 6 to 8 minute run in the first, a 6 to 8 minute run in the third, and possibly close the game. So you are playing with a different group of people, and your role is different as a result.
But not only
if you're
that,
Aaron Neesmith coming in, if you're Aaron Neesmith with the starters, your job is stand in the corner and wait for the ball. If you're playing with a second unit, you might be asked to create a little bit more. It's all different.
But that makes him complimentary, right? Is that he can kind of do all those types of roles. He's at that stage in his career where he's not expecting to be the focal point of the starting lineup or anything even remotely close.
My worry with him is still his defense. You still see him just kind of get lost in space. The switching action that they're doing, they've had a really tough time, and I think Schroeder's talked about this too. Just handing guys off, knowing where to go, when to hit the gas pedal and follow another guy downhill to the rim. They've been a mess with those switches. Tonight wasn't as bad. I don't think the Magic targeted it the way the Raptors did and the Magic did in that first game. And they tried some other stuff out there tonight. But, man, Neesmith, he's still got to kind of have that positional awareness on that end of the floor. His hips get turned really easily, too, when guys attack him.
I thought this was actually one of his better games in that regard because there were situations where he got switched out on a big, and that big could not get to that sweet spot, so they had to reset the offense, which allowed him to get back on the wing that he was initially guarding. He did that on a couple of occasions, which shocked the hell out of me because, as you pointed out, Bobby,
they do a good job with that.
He's usually a hot mess defensively. I didn't think he was that bad tonight. Obviously, he wasn't amazingly awesome, but. Right. I thought this was a step in the right direction for him defensively. Didn't cringe nearly as much as I usually do when he's on defense.
No, and he doesn't have to explode this year. Again, for much of last year, he was kind of a non-factor, and then he caught wind at the end. If we're looking at his shooting stretch and just his overall production going back to where he really got going around that Spurs 60-point Tatum game last year, he with volume now, not only from 3 but from 2. He's looking like a real solid, efficient, all-around scorer. To be able to put up 20, 25 with ease like he's done in summer and now in this kind of environment, I think we sort of had this picture of him coming in of just kind of being this 3 and nothing else kind of guy who's just going to knock down a million threes and not do much else. There's a real all-around versatility to his game that almost makes you feel better about his future prospects as a player than when he came in on draft night as sort of a specialist, seemingly.
Yeah, because when I look at his game, and it's obviously because they went to the same high school and they play the same position and are about the same size, he really does remind me of Chris Middleton. Only when you think back to Chris Middleton when he came into the league at this point, I think Neesmith is fair to say is a little bit ahead of him because remember Middleton was on the move real quick. He was a second round pick, and so. Neesmith,
I bet people forget he played for the Pistons.
For Neesmith, it's a little bit closer, I think, to being a reality than it was for when Middleton was going through that for his first time. So I'm cool with where Neesmith is at right now. I like the fact that he's being talked about as a complimentary player because I think that's a role that he can fill and he can do well in that role. If you need him to be a 15 to 18 point per game scorer, you are going to be disappointed badly. He's not there yet. Can he get there? Yes, but he's nowhere close to being that type of player who can give you that kind of production consistently. But he can give you a nice lift off the bench, scoring the ball, knocking down some open shots, which for him, that has to be the one thing that you do other than play good, solid defense is knock down open shots.
I want to throw
the guy everybody loves to compare to, the guy everybody wants Neesmith to be when he grows up is Duncan Robinson. No, I mean, Duncan Robinson is one.
I don't see Robinson at this point.
No.
I don't either. I just know because of the shooting and because that's his one elite skill, and though Robinson is clearly a better overall shooter, but this is what Neesmith was supposed to be elite at. And so that's what you want to see him be able to do while he hones other parts of his game. So that's why Robinson, I think, is used as a comp. He was 13 points a game in his second year, and he's been the same in the third. I think Robinson, you've seen all he's going to be. He's kind of plateaued, but that's good. That's a compliment. That's a role, a guy who plays his role, which is what I do is shoot. I'm instant offense. If I would feel better about Nesmith if you felt he's going to come in and, man, when he's got those shots, he's knocking down those shots, but the shot's not consistent enough either. You could excuse some of the warts as he works through those if he was instant offense, and he's not yet. I think that more is what is holding him back than the other stuff. Bobby, is if you were certain he was going to come in and knock down those threes, you'd be like, great, that's what I've got.
Well, that's what excites me about.
He's polished in this regard.
That's what excites me about what we're seeing from him, because I never imagined that he would have an in-between game, an off-the-dribble game, the stuff we saw him experiment with in Vegas. Some Middleton-esque stuff, as Sherrod put it out there. I never saw that in him coming in, and now he's starting to flash it. Do you see that turnaround he had? Like the almost Jaylen Brown kind of move that he pulled out in the last nice. Of that game. I never imagined this kind of stuff from him. So the fact that, I don't think he's ever going to be a Robinson, 44, 45% three-point shooter, among the elites of the league. If he's just a really good three-point shooter and flashes some of that in-between finishing action, he all of a sudden isn't just a specialist. He's a really good complementary all-around scorer alongside the Jays at his peak. And that's what excites me, because that wasn't on the scouting report for him coming into this league. We all really thought he was just going to kind of be that, stand in the corner and knock down every three you throw at him. And he disappointed in that sense early on, but he's kind of, and we talked about the adjustment he made becoming that scrapper. He's almost on the offensive end adjusted to become more of an all-around scorer, because he's not knocking down a million threes like a Robinson.
Yeah, well, he had a couple late, but you're right. He reinvented himself, just to be able to get by last year, because he couldn't. So he's like, all right, I'm just going to go and try to kill myself every night. And, not throw.
He threw that Art of Falling comment out again. He told us that one first, John, when we interviewed him last year. That was so funny.
That was funny. So Nesmith, yes. Romeo, again, I liked Romeo a lot tonight, maybe even more than the night where he knocked down his threes, because I want to see him be aggressive and assertive with the ball. So again, I'm negotiating with Sherrod on some of my Romeo stock.
Can we do Pritchard? I am so excited about Pritchard.
Why?
Why?
Why? He broke his nose. No, but I'm not excited about Pritchard. I just feel like we already know, we feel he's not a question mark for me.
He's kind of who we thought he would be. I mean, solid point guard,
and even better,
knock down shots. I don't think he's a huge liability defensively. Certainly not a great defender. He's kind of what we thought he was, I think.
Yeah, we knew he'd be a great shooter.
I didn't think he was going to be anything when they drafted him. So I'm
thinking about at the end of last season to where
I'm saying even here, summer league, we got a good sense of who he is. Yeah.
Obviously, he got off to a hot start in this league. But he's doing those things better now. And the shooting in particular,
I don't think we knew. We didn't know he'd be that good.
That range?
The range and the efficiency.
Is a bit of a surprise. He's got better range than I thought.
Yeah, and his command on the floor is getting better too, which is where they've really pushed him. It was rougher in the second quarter. He came into the first quarter just guns blazing when it came to transition and getting them set up in that half court. Which is obviously where he needs to improve the most if he's going to be able to play some point guard this year. But when it comes to off-ball shooting, he's as good as anybody in the league to me right now. Catch and shoot, it is phenomenal the way he's able to step out from deep and do it. If you look at his summer league stats and you look at his stats through the preseason, he's pushing 50% from three on 6-7 attempts a game. This guy is an elite shooter, and there's other parts of the game that you have to round out, Sherrod. I know that's where you're going to go, but that one skill in particular is your moneymaker in this league, and you got a guy who is really great at it.
Bobby, I'm struggling to come up with the words.
The range. How many guys are stepping out where he stepped out, Sherrod?
You say deranged? Yeah, that's a good word, actually.
The range. He's out.
The range, Jimmy. Well done.
He's not out at half court, but
we have to be able to make points without hyperbole, though, right?
His stats, John. His stats are phenomenal.
I know, but he can't be the best shooter in the league.
Are through 3 preseason games.
I'm not calling him Curry, but It was almost funny seeing him go at Fred VanVleet on Saturday because that's who he's starting to look like in terms of the range and the efficiency from three. Obviously doing a small stature too.
We mentioned if Van Fleet was the ceiling, that would be
unbelievable.
What a win that would be for
Danny
the Celtics.
Ainge's last gift for the Celtics.
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He's good. I'm a little hesitant to give him too much praise just because, from a physical standpoint, Pritchard plays a position where he's fighting just to break even most nights. He's typically playing.
But they've had other guys, Sherrod, Isaiah, Kyrie, like Kemba. They've gotten by with those guys on the floor in the past.
Yeah, but you're talking about basically 5, 6, 7 guys in a league of 450. So they're not that common. I mean, I think let's put it this way. I think what we've seen from Pritchard gives us all hope that he's going to be someone that'll be in the league for a long, long time. But there are parts of his game that unless he grows and gets better, not when I say grow, I'm not talking about physical. I'm talking about expands his game. He's going to be okay, Dellavedova type of guy, a good player, but is not really going to move the needle per se.
Better than that.
Listen,
he's better than that, but I'm saying
I think he's better than that.
In that range. He's that type of player.
He's got that range this early in his career. He's got a little swagger about him. He's definitely got confidence.
I love his game.
I think that's great. And I know it was a couple shows ago. I think it was maybe John who said he was going to play even less minutes than he played last year.
Yeah, he did.
That's due to just the other guys that they brought in. Yeah. I think they have to find a way to get this guy more time out there, whether it's at the 1 or the 2.
Well, Richardson is going to help if he keeps shooting the way he does. He's going to make it real easy for Ime to just make the decision. Because then it'll be like, well, Richardson, you're playing decent defense, but we're pretty damn good with or without you. And you're not making shots.
I'm going to say this. This is my rough, like, I don't know if it's even out on a limb because I think a lot of people might feel this way too. I get the feeling that everyone is going to hate Richardson minutes from the get-go at all times, starting.
He's going to be this season's Grant Williams.
He's going to be this season's Grant.
That's not a bold position.
But starting on day one, every time he's in, everyone's going to be like, I wish someone else was in instead.
Get him out, yeah.
And they're going to want Pritchard to be that one in there because what Pritchard
or Neesmith or someone.
Exactly what Pritchard does exceptionally well, which is make open shots.
It's really only going to it's only going to stand out when he shoots and misses. If he's in there and Tatum and Brown are getting their shots up and Time Lord's doing his thing, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. Yeah, he's in there as the complimentary player and he's playing defense. But as soon as he starts to take a couple shots, clang, whatever, it's going to be like, get him out. Just get him out.
He hasn't made a 3 yet. Yeah, through his first 2 preseason
in his
games.
life. I like this comment.
No, I'm not a big Richardson fan. I think his defense will endear himself to some people, though.
His defense,
I think
defense isn't going to put asses in
a couple
seats,
people
Bob.
made that. Yeah.
After last year, Jimmy, I think people will be getting excited about defense with this team.
They just need to play good team defense.
Bobby
good team defense.
Bobby gets excited about defense, defense, and field goals.
People get excited about defense.
His big thing is defense. And he's just not ready on the defense.
And field goal kicking.
And field goals.
I told you Nick
Football
Folk wins games.
Nick Folk is your AFC Special Teams Player of the Week, John. I will have you know.
I know.
It's a late career renaissance.
Bobby had one. Bobby went out and partied for that after that was announced.
Bobby's been trying to find siblings of his to do podcasts with.
Yeah. Does Nick Folk have a younger sister?
Wait,
or a daughter? He's pretty old.
Didn't we bring Cornette to camp? What happened? Is he here?
No, because I don't know how that worked out. I had heard that
didn't we sign him to one of these?
We sent him to some wild contract that was
I'd never heard. It was
it was like Exception 42 or something.
Yeah, X428Z.
They might have fast tracked him to Maine.
And everybody was like, Zarin did it again.
They were.
That was actually me.
Bobby, what a deal!
Unbelievable! This is a starting caliber center that the Celtics just signed to some made-up contract.
I still stand by that.
I love that. What a deal!
It makes sense.
He's somewhere. He must be getting a check from the Celtics in some capacity.
Yeah,
He'll
they might have.
resurface at some point.
They might have done the
To me.
immediate fast track to Maine in that sense. I am surprised he wasn't in camp though. Yeah, just as a body and a competitor out there. The guys that they
feel like
brought
he
into
would
camp.
enjoy
I don't know if we
Maine.
want to spend 30 seconds on this, but they brought Juwan Morgan into camp. I know he's been
We
hurt,
don't.
but
No, we don't.
I'm
We
just
don't.
saying, when we
Anything
speak
else?
to Cornette and what he can bring to the team, there's certain guys in camp that just haven't gotten minutes. Theo Pinson finally got some today.
Theo
Right.
can ball.
Yeah, but is he going to
absolute
factor in?
ball.
No.
I'd rather have Cornette than some of the guys they've brought into camp.
We just lost a third of our viewers
Oh.
in those 45
Listen,
seconds.
that was a real thing that happened tonight, but that's why John tuned out and Jimmy probably fell asleep.
Well, U.S. was hanging on to 2-1 lead over Costa Rica, so I wanted to make sure I watched the end of that game instead of the fourth quarter. So I apologize.
I'm going to give Jimmy huge props for what he just said.
I came back. I only missed 5 minutes.
What do you got?
Jimmy said, find a way to get Pritchard on the floor. That's all I ask. Consistently play more than last year, to what John said, the opposite of what John said. Because in positionless basketball, he doesn't have to be the point guard. Smart can do that, or whoever else is playing that position. He doesn't have to defend the wings or great defenders. You can find ways to hide him on the defensive end of the floor. He can almost play that pseudo, two-guard wing position, almost his natural position, I would say it's looking like in this league. So just find a way. Shoehorn those minutes in because they need his shooting.
And the thing I like about having a brand new coach is that everyone kind of has their chance to make an impression. And Pritchard, if he's absolutely doing his thing in practice, he's going to get playing time. If he's hitting those shots in practice, over Smart or over Schroeder or whoever it is, and he's showing that he can roll with these guys, he's going to get his time. And no one's got the benefit of the doubt, or no one's favored. I mean, maybe Tatum is because obviously he's a superstar. I'm not comparing Pritchard and Tatum's roles. I'm just saying, it's not like there's a coach that's been here for 4 or 5 years and kind of has his favorites or kind of has guys that he trusts more. These guys are all coming in with a clean slate. So this is Pritchard's time to say, hey, I deserve a bigger role. I deserve to be out there, whether it's the one or the two, whether it's I'm starting or coming off the bench. I deserve 20 plus minutes a game.
Yeah, but
and he's playing like it.
Right. And they've also got the whole Oregon connection, with both, playing their prep ball back there and having that familiarity with each other. So, I mean, Pritchard is in a good position to just play the game and know that he's getting a fair shake. And I think that's what all players ideally want, is to come into camp and know that, there aren't all of these predetermined, preset, locked in spots that have me on the outside looking in. So he knows he's going to get a fair shake. But again, I just think it's going to at some point come down to Jay Rich and Pritchard. Who are you going to lean a little bit more on if you're Ime? Because they both bring something to the table that can benefit your team. My gut tells me that Ime is going to lean on Josh at first. That's not going to work. And then he's going to pivot over and play.
I felt that way all along. Yeah. And I have no problem with starting with Richardson. And again, he's not my favorite player in the world, but I really respect his defense, intensity, and frankly, just kind of his role in the room too. I think he's a really good guy to have in this room. Speaks his mind. Just has a tough persona to him. I think Bruno Fernando, even at the back end of the roster, is just another good guy to have in the room on this group, energizer. So Richardson, I think, in Ime's sense, is going to be a lot like Brad in terms of giving the benefit of the doubt to the veterans here. And I think Richardson's deserved it to the point, and they need a defender and a defensive identity to start this year. That's the other thing about the starting lineup, to kind of go back to that, is how many bad starts did this team get off to last year? They really need to find the right combinations to be able to set a tone in games. I think that's going to be the important part of those things. And I don't love Richardson in the starting lineup, but if they really think that him and Smart can go out there and just smash some people's heads around, then and that's the way they get going to open games,
I think it works out.
I'm fine with
it.
it.
7 of the first 10 games on the road, so they're going to have to muck it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to really just take a little bit of the steam out of the teams that they're playing in their building. So I'm not feeling Richardson necessarily starting. I definitely think he'll play early on.
I'm not either, but if Horford's out, I think it's an option.
That's the thing, if Horford's out, because obviously everybody would want Horford in there over Richardson.
Right.
I mean, from what I've seen, Horford's been one of the bigger surprises of the preseason, at least for me. I didn't come in with much expectations. I mean, I knew that he was, still capable of playing, but certainly
It looks like he never left.
That's what I mean.
I've been saying that over and over again.
I thought that last year in OKC, I wasn't sure how much of that is Al just, not the same guy anymore? Or is OKC just really trying to lose? So I came in to this season thinking if they can get, almost like a Kemba situation where it's I don't know where this guy's health is going to be. I don't know what he's capable of doing or where he fits. But so far, and I know it's a free preseason's in and there's plenty of time left, but he seems like, what the hell is so funny? He seems like somebody who can contribute.
What's going on in the chat? Sorry.
You have control of the chat, John. Let it rip.
Nothing. I just
let it rip.
I thought somebody let one rip, and I started giggling. And
no, you know what that was? It was actually over here. I moved my seat.
That was the classic seat.
So it was Jimmy.
The chat's been all over it, so I've just been hold on.
I didn't even know you guys could hear that.
The chat called it. It was Jimmy.
It was Jimmy. I was I wasn't gonna say anything. I was like, okay, so that happened, and I just kept going.
Jimmy,
I need to hear that live.
When that happens,
it just went
hard.
right at a dead pause in our talk, and I was like,
I thought it was
so.
Jimmy.
That's like a press conference fart situation. I wish I could recreate it.
Yeah.
Once that happens, though, Jimmy, it's hard to blame.
I'm not going to live that down, am I?
Jimmy, it was the chair. That's another slogan. Right?
It was the chair.
Homeschool, the chair.
No one's ever buying that excuse.
No, I know. I shouldn't have even said it was the chair. I should have just owned a fart.
Just owned it.
Look, you can get away with that in homeschool, Jimmy, but you can't get away with that here. Not on the Garden Report.
You never knew what it was.
I can't wait to actually hear it because I don't hear it the way you guys heard it, obviously. So.
Yeah, and so we're at 36 right now. We'll probably go to about the 34 and a half, 34, 30. Yeah, right around there. Yeah. The fart.
I should have known because you guys.
Someone's gonna do a YouTube breakdown of it. Yeah.
Slow mo.
The facial Oh.
Yeah, in public school, that wouldn't have slid to me. They would have been all over you.
Yeah, I would have been a dead man.
Yeah. So good.
There was no crime worse in school.
Man, I'm gonna have to go scroll through the comments now.
So before we get into Kyrie and Ben, we will a little bit. I was gonna ask Sherrod about his man Jabari, who is a mystery to me because again, we talked last game. He kind of looks exactly the same as he did last year physically, which is, I guess, a little disappointing because you wanted to see could he recapture anything? Could he come back looking like a version of the guy who was averaging 15 points a game instead of bench fodder? He looks very similar to the same guy. The question is, do you value what he brings enough to have him earn that last spot or not? Because I don't know what to do with him.
See, I'm in the camp of keeping him. I just think guys who are professional scorers in the NBA are not. They don't just grow on trees, and you've got him at a great price. So it's not like you have this huge investment in him. And let's be real, he just wants to be on a damn roster. He just wants to be able to at some point potentially play in games, and that's really all. If you're the Celtics, that's all you want. To me, he's more like an insurance policy in case offense is out of whack or a guy in the front court or two guys in the front court can't go, and you need someone to give you a little bit of offensive punch. Jabari, he's good for that role.
I was intrigued by Garrison Matthews. I thought Matthews was a good guy.
Jabari's my pick too, Sherrod.
Yeah, I just haven't seen it from Matthews. I thought Matthews had a chance to push him, but hasn't. So Parker, I think, won the job tonight and hitting threes on top of it.
See, John, that's the part about his game that has really been just an eye opener because this is a guy who's never shot better than 36% from 3-point range. I mean,
he couldn't even hit 10 footers.
Right. I mean, if he's able to knock down that shot and score around the basket the way we know he can, that's a guy that you could easily throw out there for 5-10 minutes, and get you 4 or 5 points in no time. And that could be just what you need to get your offense on track and find ways to win. So,
and I think the great thing about it is you talk about his pedigree as a scorer. a guy of his skill set, his baseline skill set that's obviously been completely hampered by injuries, being a 14th, 15th man on a roster.
Jimmy can't get it together.
Can you just take the thing down? Can you just take the message down?
John's blaming Jimmy for what he did.
I just keep seeing it. I'm just laughing about it, but like,
sorry.
No, but
Jimmy's my guy.
You don't come across this opportunity where a guy like this is probably happy to be here in this position and can play this role on the roster really well. Like if we're ranking the 15th guy on every roster in the league, he's got to be up there, right? In terms of skill set, he's just.
You should do that. You should do a power
pedigree.
rankings of the 15th.
Of the last man
and the
making
thing about
every team.
Jabari, you don't have to worry about him ego tripping about being the 15th guy.
That's my point. Yeah.
Right.
I would
He's just
watch
happy
like
to be
a-
on a team.
I would watch
a
like
team
a
that
Hunger.
actually can win.
Yeah, I would
Sorry,
watch like
John.
a Hunger Games sort of, thing for the 15th man. You know, like
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking about that tonight
To
as
the
these
depth.
guys were playing, and it's like it must be so hard to be on that brink of the roster, and you obviously want to do the right thing in the moment, but at the same time, you want to show that you can play, and like if you're Parker and the three is there, you want to take it, but maybe he could have made a pass to the guy under the hoop. I mean, I'm just throwing out an example, but it's like it must be really difficult to show that like you're good enough to be on this team, but also like you don't want to get lost in the team ball game where you don't really stand out, but you end up with as like a +6 when you're out there, but you didn't really do anything. So it just must
when
be
he's on the
super
court,
hard.
everyone on his squad knows what he does and who he is and what he's about. He is a professional scorer. He gets buckets. That's his game. You're not looking for Jabari Parker to make that great block at the rim. You're not looking for Jabari Parker to draw a charge. You're looking for him to knock down some shots. You're looking for him when he heads back to the bench. There should be 5, 6, 7 points under his name. That is what you expect from him.
And that's
right. You expect like this type of line, to be honest.
Yeah, this is what you expect. This tonight was exactly what you expect from Jabari. He's going to make some mistakes on defense. He's probably not going to rebound the ball as well as you want. But damn, he's got like 8, 9 points in little to no time.
Well, that's a great point because if we throw it back to the day they signed him and cut Mo, and we said, all right, this is what you're going to get from him, and we showed you the stat line through the playoffs and into now, I think we all would have been thrilled with that. I mean, back then he was on the edge of being out of the league, and now he's scoring 8 to 10 points if you throw him in a game with relative ease. I thought he had a great series against Brooklyn when he got thrown into that role at the 4. The defense is still so bad, like as bad as you can imagine. So I don't think he has a role on this team. But again, break glass, you need a lot of offense. You need points in a hurry. It looks like he's going to be able to provide that, and that's valuable.
He's the opposite of the 3-and-D guy. Which is like
right,
which is what you're looking for out of so many players like
dribble
that.
And dunk.
Yeah, he just can't do it. I mean, and by dunk we mean like get your fingers over the rim,
just barely, like right under the hoop.
Yeah, barely. So,
he used to have
doesn't
some ups
move.
though. He used to have some ups before the
well.
injuries and things like that.
He did.
Based
he
on
was
some
more
of the
athletic.
YouTube highlight reels that I've seen.
He was never an elite athlete, but he could use his athleticism to score. Now it's just so limited that it's all just kind of craft and guile now, and a little bit of brute force because he's a little bit bigger than he was too.
Right.
But he's completely lost that. So let's pivot a little bit because we did want to talk about just a little bit the latest with the Kyrie stuff. It got weird fast and it got serious fast. In the sense that in a 24-hour period, you had the Nets announcing that Kyrie was not going to be with the team anymore. And then you've got Shams coming out today. Shams redeeming himself today with a report about Kyrie after writing that ridiculous thing yesterday that it was Kyrie's being an ambassador for the disenfranchised who are having to, live through vaccine mandates, and that's what he's standing up for. So he's got a cause, but he's not telling anybody what the cause is, whatever.
Right.
But now this has turned into the Nets are done. And the report is they're not going to offer him an extension. Now, what's interesting about the Kyrie stuff, and again, we're not getting into should you take it, my body, my choice. We're just literally talking about Kyrie's choice, which is costing him a season and all of this money and this team that he was the architect of assembling, a chance at winning an NBA title, and what was very interesting was Sean Marks not only sent out the release yesterday saying that Irving was not going to rejoin the team, but then he held a press conference right after and he was like, yeah, we all talked about it. We all agreed upon it. And he named people by name. He named James Harden. He named Kevin Durant. He named Joe Harris.
2 stars signed off on it.
The stars signed off. And so you're wondering, like, wow, that's a big deal because Durant – this is where Kyrie has now finally realized he has no allies. I'm going to play real quick this clip. This is James Harden asked about whether he'd talked to Kyrie today.
This is great.
Have you talked to Kyrie since the decision came down?
Say it again?
Have you talked to Kyrie since?
No, I haven't talked to him. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you, James. Appreciate you. Appreciate it.
Very short answer there. Yeah.
It's a wrap. I'm done with this dude.
Done.
Remember a year ago.
I don't.
James. I'm done with him.
Remember a year ago when that whole Harden saga was going on in his own right? It was like, all right, do the Nets really need him? And you thought at that time, could this guy be Kyrie insurance to some degree? And now it's playing out more true than ever. I mean, this was Kyrie's team. Now it's kind of Harden's team.
Well, here's the issue, though. I mean, Brooklyn gave up a lot of talent to get James Harden in Brooklyn. And for them to potentially lose him because he may not sign that extension because of this Kyrie nonsense, I think Brooklyn, they felt they had to make a choice. We either play along with the Kyrie Irving game, which we don't really understand, or we make it clear to James Harden that we're going to do everything we can to keep him here because we want him here. We believe in him and all that other stuff. And if we don't make that clear to him, Daryl Morey in Philly is just like, go ahead, let him get free and see what happens. I will get him back. So Brooklyn has thrown down the gauntlet that look, Kyrie, we respect what you're thinking and all that other stuff, but we got a business to run. We got a championship we're trying to win, and we're not messing around with folks who are not all in with that mission. Sean Marks gives major props for actually standing up and doing
Steve Nash too
in the best interest of that organization and that franchise, not only for now, but also going forward. The fact that they're not going to offer him an extension. I mean, that to me is their understanding that we're not just going to look at this in the moment type of vacuum. We're looking at both the short and long-term repercussions that can come about with this decision that Kyrie has made. And we respect his decision because it's his, but at the same time, we're not going to stand still. We're not going to allow our organization to be held in this state of just inability to move on because he feels a certain way. We got to keep moving. And again, the look on James Harden's face, the way he responded,
kind of said it all.
That said it all.
Yeah.
They're done. They are done with Kyrie.
Which is crazy because, go ahead, Jimmy.
I was going to just say, I think it's pretty clear that they have to be frustrated by the situation. I mean, it's an unfortunate situation for everybody. Nobody wants to be in this position where you have to choose between, I'm sure these guys were friends or still are friends, and they have to choose between, somebody's decision on, what they think is healthy for them or not, and the fact that it's, what's better for the team. Like you said, I mean, they put together an NBA title contending team here, and they just lost a major piece. Now the Nets are still pretty damn good. They signed Patty Mills. They've got players that can make up for the loss of Kyrie to an extent. The issue that the Nets are going to have is there can't be a market for Kyrie. He's just too far off the reservation right now. I mean, he's out in left field. And I'm not just saying because of COVID, but even before this, I mean, there was, any team that's had Kyrie on their team can tell you how there's been drama that's, sort of surrounded him, while he's been on the team. Certainly Celtics fans know all about it. And there's even been some with the Nets, even, last season, Kyrie missed some time. So there's definitely something going on there on where his mind is in terms of basketball and, what's important to him. And I just think that for some of these guys like Durant and Harden, basketball's number one for those guys. It's clear. I'm not saying they would choose basketball over
that's where
their
this
family,
turned,
but when it comes to they have a goal and it's to win an NBA title and they're all aboard, and that means making a decision that's difficult, then they're going to make that decision. But it doesn't seem like Kyrie's on the same wavelength as they are.
That's where this turned.
Yeah, there's sacrifice in anything and everything you do, whether it's life, whether it's basketball. I mean, getting your ass up at 6 a.m. in the morning to work out and lift weights and all that, that doesn't guarantee you're going to win a championship, but you make that sacrifice because it enhances the likelihood of you getting that accomplishment. Players do this all the time. I keep going back to the media day.
Almost every player in the league did a Sherrod. We're at like 98% now.
Right. But I keep going back to media day when Marcus Smart was talking about that, and he went through just his reservations about getting the vaccine, but ultimately he decided to get it because he didn't want to go through the BS, and he didn't want to be a distraction to his team, and he knew that there could be the potential where he might miss some games because of that, and that was not good for his team. So he gave multiple reasons why you make sacrifices for the betterment of your team, and it's hard for players, I think, to fully comprehend how you can say that you're doing something unselfish and you're not. It's not about you when, in fact, everything that all the proof, all the receipts show that it kind of is about you. Because there's a sacrifice that athletes have to make if you want to win. It's not, and we're not just talking about COVID, or the vaccine. We're just in a very broad general sense. You have to decide how much you're willing to sacrifice. And if you're not willing to make the sacrifices, then fine. Be upfront about it. And that's what Kyrie is doing. And Brooklyn's response is, okay, that's your position. That's how you feel. This is what we're going to do. We're not going to let you be a part-time player because we're paying you full-time money. So that's out of the question. And that extension that we talked about, we're not going to do it now. So, again, that's the choice that you made. That's the choice that we made. Everyone knows where everyone stands.
I don't know how that anyone could offer him an extension at this point in his career.
Well, Sham said it's off the table with Brooklyn now.
Well, yeah. Right, and I know that, and that makes all the sense in the world. I mean, how could the Nets? I mean, it almost doesn't even require a report. I mean, how could the Nets possibly be considering an extension of Kyrie Irving right now? I can't imagine why any team would sign Kyrie Irving with everything that's been going on and the uncertainty with, I mean, there's no stopping any city from putting the same mandate to an extent that New York is doing, right? I mean, in terms of, you need to be vaccinated to play in your home games. I mean, who's to say a team trades for Kyrie and that city puts together a mandate?
Some
right?
cities are probably safer than others.
Some cities are safer than others, for sure.
Go to Texas. You can do anything. Yeah, you'll be fine.
But if people are talking,
you might actually get penalized for being vaccinated.
We're gonna talk about Ben Simmons.
I just thought it was so.
We could talk about Ben. Look, the Kyrie stuff is a one-sided conversation. It feels like,
right?
And nobody understands, the rationale. It's just the interesting part of it is I don't know where he goes now because, as I said, he's lost. Up until now, you had a lot of players sticking up for players.
Players like Kyrie, that surprises
but
people.
They like him, but a lot of people were doing the personal choice. It's that thing, and I'm just not going to get involved with it, and that's fine. However, in this case, I think what they're very clearly saying is it's his personal choice, but it's really effing us right now.
Right.
So, and that's that. So, yes, recognize it's your personal choice, but it's impacting us in a lot of ways, and we're pretty bummed about it right now. And I don't know how he walks back in there because now he's just really put himself in a corner. I don't know where he goes next. As far as the Simmons stuff goes, that's a little bit more of a wild card. He showed up, and we don't know anything else, right?
Right.
Oh.
And he showed up, but the fact that he showed up, a couple things. One, I think it finally sunk in that, oh shit, there's a lot of money I'm going to be losing if I don't take my ass
when they kept that $8 million, that was like, all right, I'm going to go get my money. He's basically knocking on the door and saying, give me my $8 million now.
Let's go.
Well, he can show up so he gets paid, but that doesn't mean it's going to work. And he's probably just like, fine, if you guys aren't going to trade me, fine.
Right. Yeah. And the problem that he's going to run into is that you cannot replicate the James Harden blueprint for getting out of town because we've seen that movie. And Philly is not going to fall for that. They're not
James Harden can do something that Ben Simmons can't do.
Well, and that's the other thing too.
Score at a ridiculously alarming rate.
Right. I mean, people knew that James Harden was being the way he was because he wanted to leave. But there are way more questions about Ben Simmons and what he would be able to do if you brought him to the fold. Because whatever team he goes to, he's probably going to go somewhere where his status will be what it is in Philly in terms of the pecking order or greater. He may be the man. If you trade him to Sacramento, he's that guy. And if you're Sacramento, all you trying to do is get to the damn. All you trying. What's that?
They would trade. Fox isn't going to be move for Simmons.
Regardless of who you trade, the bottom line is it will be Ben's team, and all they're trying to do is get to the playoffs. And for Ben, that might be the best thing that could happen in his career. A team that doesn't have lofty expectations of getting anywhere other than to be one of the top 8 teams in that conference.
Yeah, this is a pretty obvious move for Ben, trying to get that money. If I could just have to walk in the door and arrive for it to happen, then I'm going to do that. Like, what's the point of staying at home if this isn't moving anyway? Because it's pretty clear Philly has his feet dug in.
And he has to up his stock value. I mean, right now, he does not have tremendous value in the eyes of other teams because there's so many question marks about him. And let's be honest, when you haven't seen a guy, the last image people have of Ben is him passing up a layup dunk in Game 7 that could have potentially helped catapult his team to the next round.
If you're the Nets, if you're the Nets and you could do it right now, would you do? And both sides agreed. Would you do Irving for Simmons?
Yep,
100%.
Yeah,
makes all the sense in the world.
And
if you're the Nets, absolutely.
And take him and the 4 years, because now you're dug in with that money. And
it's what the Nets need too.
And he would be further down the pecking order so that there wouldn't be as much pressure on him to perform.
He'd be so good for the Nets.
He'd be so good on that team and so happy on that team. Be like,
totally.
KD, James, I'll just be over here in the corner. Don't buy me. I'll play defense.
So why wouldn't it happen?
Because Brooklyn's not stupid. Sean Marks is
Brooklyn's not
stupid. Does it?
Why wouldn't Brooklyn do it?
I think Brooklyn does it.
I feel like Philly would be hesitant because, again, like, you just don't know what Kyrie's going to do.
Yeah.
He seems like the type of guy.
I'm in Philly. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. So Philly's not stupid. Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I even think there's a case for Philly, too, because you're looking for a star equivalent to Simmons, and that's what Kyrie is. He'd be a great fit next to Embiid if he's playing.
It's not the fit. It's not the fit that's the issue. Right there. It's up here. It's what's going on in Kyrie's head.
But I've been calling his bluff on that. I really would. You're gonna retire. Go ahead. Again, Simmons is done in Philly. So why not try to get Irving out of it? Even if
I don't think Simmons is done in Philly. I think they're just gonna suck it up and just pretend it didn't happen and play.
I'd be stunned if it works too. They could try that.
That would be the ultimate Doc Rivers Jedi mind trick.
I don't think it's gonna work. I
don't think it's gonna either.
I mean, it didn't work before this. So why would it work now?
What does work mean? If they squeeze out the home court advantage and then it just falls apart in the playoffs again, is that success because they have a good regular season? We know how this goes at this point.
Sixers
he should have been
fans,
traded years ago.
I think they just
are not. You think Josh Richardson's gonna have a short leach when he misses a shot?
It doesn't
think
matter.
about how short leach Ben Simmons is going to be.
And
when he passes up a shot,
the only thing to get booed every time he touches the ball.
I don't think so. I don't think so. The only thing
Sixers fans do not like him, John.
The thing Sixers
and he doesn't like Sixers fans.
Weren't they trying to F Ben Simmons at the Eagles game?
The thing Sixers fans didn't like about him was that he didn't want to be here. If he comes back and he plays, they'll be fine.
He still doesn't want to be there.
They know who he is, though. There's nothing. They know who he is,
and they don't like it.
Yeah,
that doesn't matter.
That's the problem.
They know he makes.
That's how we got here.
Nah, they know he makes them better than not being.
But it's not just what are you working towards, John? This isn't a championship.
Nothing.
Team.
Getting paid.
Yeah, they have to resolve this.
I don't have to like everybody I work with. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to be a professional. That's a thing that happens a lot of places. That's what I think has to happen here.
No, it doesn't happen in
where they're going to be like, we aired our dirty laundry. We said our piece. We got it all out in the open. We're all better for it. I think we can grow from here. Blah, 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 blah.
Well, what's the end goal?
If he didn't love Embiid before, it's no different now. All it is it's public. So I think he just goes in there and he just plays. And that's
I don't think it's possible.
And now that it's public, they don't have to fake it.
However, if you wanted to F with them and I was Simmons, I would come in there and I would start jacking threes left and right.
Yes.
I would shoot 12 threes a game, miss them all, and be like, is this what you wanted?
You asked for this. Yeah. All right, don't shoot.
And shoot them right-handed, one-handed.
Yeah.
The ball's bouncing off the backboard. Oh, this could get so silly. It already
You were right. Don't shoot.
It already is so ridiculous.
One-man Washington Generals squad there, Ben Simmons.
Here's why it's not going to work, though, because Ben Simmons is end goal is still ultimately to get out. Philly's end goal is to get a lot for Ben Simmons. Like, both of them are really intent on getting out of this.
This
and they
happens, by the
both
way.
don't have kind of a path to get there. And I think this is worse on Philly because, like, John and I have kind of been different on this. Like, it feels like, John, you think that they're like have that ridiculous asking price to just drive it up to something that's good or great. I think
No, that wasn't what I
so
thought. I thought the Sixers end game, and I think they actually played it perfectly, was make the price, knowing that you weren't going to get much in return, make the price so ridiculously high that trading for him at all was off the table, thus forcing this situation, which was him to return and play for you, which was probably their best bet because there was no way they were going to get value for him. So the only way to get the best plan for them was to force him back home. And so they did this and asked for the moon. I think they asked for
I think they can get
even
value
more. I think they asked for even more than they would have if they were legitimately trying to trade him. They were like, we'll take Lillard and we want to rename Portland, friggin' after Geno's cheesesteaks. Like they were asking things that you couldn't possibly give up. Because they never planned. They knew they weren't going to trade him. That's my thing. That was their play to bring.
They knew they
him
weren't,
back.
or they knew
and
they
they
couldn't.
and they knew they weren't.
So you
gonna
think
get
they
real
want to move
value
forward with Simmons?
I think they assess the situation, recognize there's no market for him. I'm not trading him for pennies on the dollar. I'm not taking on a John Wall or a terrible contract I'm going to be saddled with. I'm going to get nothing close to equal value. So I'm just as good holding on to the asset and seeing if it'll come home as I am trading him for nothing. So I think their best play, once they realized there was no market, was to get him back and make it work. And they were all saying, we're reaching out. We're trying to talk to him. I think they realized that. And if he comes in and plays relatively well, you can start to assess a trade again, because now teams have seen
they
something.
wanted to trade him.
That's what I was just going to say.
I think they wanted to trade him for Harden, and they wanted to
back
trade him
then.
When that
This
Philly
offseason, it was over.
But now it's like and honestly, they've, if not yet, they're sure they will have this conversation where they say, listen, if you want out of here this badly, the only way you can get out is if you get yourself out by playing well enough where we can get something for you. Play, just as good as you are. Show everybody that you're not a liability on offense and that you.
And I'll try to get you out of here.
And we'll trade you, but we're not going to trade you. We're not going to trade you for 25 cents. We'll trade you maybe for 75 cents.
Yeah, help me help you. If you want out, the best way to do it, you come here.
Yeah,
and
you got to
play,
show up. Yeah,
and then let's play. And two things can happen. You may end up liking it and you stay, or you may drive up your value and we find a place for you and we'll move you if you still want to go. But let's just do this
Here's the
thing.
problem with that. Part of it's like what they view this as, and part of it's the positioning where they are. Because again, picks aren't cutting it for them. They're trying to win. They're trying to replace a star. So they can't do like a pick heavy package. And they also can't just bring in some random role players, because then they're probably a worse team for it. Mm-hmm. They're trying to replace a star with a star in this case. And that just, to me, is never going to happen. Like, even if Lillard asks out, I know that's like their dream. I don't think they're going to get him. Like, I think there's other situations that Lillard looks at that point and is like, all right, this is preferable to me. Now, they might end up redeemed in that sense if they ultimately comes to that and Simmons' value looks great at that time and like the perfect timing comes together for them to strike that deal. But I just don't think it's gonna. And again, if you're just going to keep kicking the Simmons thing, I think they're 2 or 3 years overdue on trading him.
No, but look at it this way. One of the things you mentioned, like if Lillard wants out, you could find a situation where, there's a team like, say, a Washington, or say someone who has a star who's about to enter their last year and tells the team he's not going to re-sign, but I will go there. And then you say, Ben, would you do Washington? Okay, great. So that team takes something rather than nothing because they could lose their star. Maybe there's a situation out there where you could move.
Or someone gets desperate.
You could move a star for a star because the team knows I'm going to lose my only guy and I'm never going to find one in free agency. So I'll take Ben and the rest of his money and everything and all his warts, and that'll make it happen. So it's not impossible, but he had to get back on the court to do it. And it wasn't happening this offseason. So I think they're both going to hold their noses and try to make it work and then see what happens.
We'll see if he gets on the court.
Yeah. I wonder though, that's the thing is like, you haven't heard much other than he showed up. So like, is he showing up and be like, just friggin' pay me? I really don't want to play. So I'll be here, but I want my money.
Yeah. What's his attitude like?
I don't know his attitude. Yeah.
Very interesting.
That's the next big question. Because if he's just there hanging out, Like, where are we really at this point? Like, that's just another power play by him. And then Philly's in an even worse spot because there's just all that chaos. Oh, this could get even uglier.
That's what I
Right,
mean.
that-
That's just because he showed up doesn't mean all is well. Not even close. I mean, he just wants to get paid, and he's going to make sure that legally he's doing what he needs to do to get that game check, and they'll figure
Again,
out
you
the
think
rest
he's
of it as
happy?
as it
You
goes.
think he's showing up the door like, yeah, you got me. I'm all in.
No, hell no.
I wonder.
The business.
We-
Happy on every other Friday, probably.
We haven't heard a thing though. You either show up and
That direct
say,
deposit comes
"Screw it, I'm going to be a professional. This is a business. I'm here to play. Give me my money." Or he shows up there pouting, and he's going to go out there and just half-ass it and just do the harden. Because that's the thing. The precedent is set.
Is he gonna have a fat suit?
But that's the bad part. The precedent is set. Like if I go out there and suck, don't they have to trade me?
But they
and-
can't get anything for him. He makes too
But
much
they can't get
money.
anything for him.
Which
They
is
can't
why
get
He
they
anything.
needs to be good.
They
This is
can
the
get
thing,
something
Ben
for
Simmons.
him, Jimmy.
You need to be good if you want to get traded. You can't play like shit, or else you'll
Yeah.
be stuck in Philly and miserable for
Yeah.
as much as somebody making that much money can be miserable.
Perhaps. The couple things I want to say, there's some people who are like, talk Celtics. We did talk Celtics for about 45 minutes. It was a friggin' preseason
Yeah, you're late.
game, and you're late. So watch the start of the show. No big
You missed
deal.
the fart heard around
should I
the world.
pull in my,
if you got here too late.
At about the 34-minute mark, there's a fart, and then prior to that, there was a lot of Celtics
Well, I did
talk.
have a Celtics angle.
That was the turning point.
I did
That
have
was
a
the turning
Celtics
point.
It was like the final buzzer on Celtics talk was the fart.
I did have a Celtics reaction when we
Not a
first
fart,
heard this. If he does come back and play and looks really good and is committed, that's really bad for Boston because Philly's definitively better than Boston with him.
Could
like
be.
if they're just through the regular season, they were so much better than the Celtics last year. They were the best team in the East. So
Right.
like this works in the East. This works in the regular season. And Simmons is as good at guarding Tatum as anybody out there. So if it's stable, if they're just playing, if they're functioning, that might knock the Celtics down another spot in the East. But we'll see where it goes. Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So couple things here. We want to wrap it. The Celtics lose to Orlando. We got another game coming up Friday, and then it's regular season, right? It's just the 4 preseason games and then regular season next week. So we're here full steam ahead with all of this stuff. The
Opening
full
night's a week away.
week away, full cast of characters. So that's going to be great. A lot of people in this chat have been talking about Green Room, Spotify Green Room. We hadn't been doing it. We may do something similar to it. We did have a deal where we were doing some stuff with those guys for a while, and that lapsed. If you guys want to
Plus, it
do it,
stinks.
well, if you guys want, you can go into the you can go into the comments at Spotify and tell those guys, go into Green Room and flood the comments and say, whatever happened to those Garden Report guys? We loved that show. You want to do that for us? Go ahead. If there's enough demand going, we
If
may
you can
pop
get
back
through
in.
all
Send
the
them an
rooms
email.
of like just
Yeah.
music of like not like good Spotify music. It's just like people playing like shitty DJ music and then just sitting there and talking
Through
about.
their phones, they're putting up their
themselves.
phone or their
Yeah, I don't
AirPods.
understand what the hell's going on over there. I'll pop in once in a blue moon.
But
there's
we
nothing
are,
to like even really listen to.
so we could return there. We may, if you guys make a big enough of a stink. Get it?
At
You
that
get it,
point,
Jimmy?
yes.
That's our theme.
get
If you guys go over there and you raise hell and they come calling and they say, hey, come on back, Green Room,
Yep.
we miss you, we'll do it. However, I do promise there will be some form of interactive element that we will introduce once again during the season, whether it's that or something else, so we can hear your voices again and bring you guys back in, and we can chat with you and chop it up, because we did enjoy doing that. Will we do it after every game? No, but we will do it at some
Yeah.
points throughout the
Maybe
season,
some big games or something.
where we want to bring in some people, and maybe we'll bring in some special guests like we had last year, and we'll talk to you guys. So we are going to do something like that again for sure. But like I said, you guys want to go knocking on Green Room's door and say, where the hell are those guys? We loved it. Go for it. That only helps. That only helps the cause. And guys, final thoughts before we wrap it here.
Preseason is almost over, thank goodness. Let's hope that the Celtics can go a week with no one testing positive for COVID. That's my wish between now and the start of the season.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't talk about that at all, but I mean, it's really not a great look. Again, I mean, last season, this is my final thought, I guess, too. Last season, this Celtics team was like probably the most popular COVID team in the NBA, or right up there with the amount of
they were number one. Yeah.
amount of games lost per player. So Not a great start. I don't know who's vaccinated or who's not. I know it's not really my business, but it's just kind of troubling that all these guys now are starting to pop up again. And I say all these guys, but 2 really important players have popped up. I don't know what the status is moving forward, and it's gonna, once again, COVID's gonna be a huge X factor. It feels like in this season, because you're just seeing a lot of guys popping up on the COVID list, and you just have no idea when that will happen. And there's, they're pretty steadfast in the period that you have to be away from the team, and if that happens at inopportune times, then really it kind of leaves the league kind of wide open. I mean, not completely wide open, but there's a lot of teams that could find themselves in a position to make the playoffs if they can stay out of that COVID pro. Oh my God.
Yeah.
There it is.
No,
I'm going to actually be scrolling back immediately. I'm going to be scrolling back immediately when this ends.
I know you are, Jimmy.
Screen record that.
You'll see it. It'll be on social media soon enough. We'll get it out there.
True. Damn it.
Damn it.
No, and now we see
But
there can be a real impact on a team if you do end up having COVID invade the room. And no, we don't know if there's a breakthrough case or
well, we're trying
one of those. But
we're trying to decipher the Celtics statements too amongst ourselves. Like, what's this mean? This didn't have the same information as.
they're valid
first
questions,
statement.
and we're starting
But they
to
are
see
questions.
why.
When you don't, again, we don't want to get too deep into it, but what you say and then don't say says a lot. So again, Sherrod wrote about it. It's very easy to. You had Ime Udoka gets it. He's resting comfortably. He was vaccinated. It's a breakthrough case. Then it's Jaylen Brown gets it. Jaylen Brown gets it. Nothing about vaccinated, nothing about breakthrough, but they say he's asymptomatic. Then Al Horford has COVID. It doesn't say
Ime did say Al's doing good though.
Okay,
yeah,
but
I don't know about
the
him.
release didn't say asymptomatic, and the release didn't say breakthrough. So now
Yeah,
you start to
that's
wonder,
significant, yeah.
does he have a bad case? So every
Right.
time they don't say something, they're saying something. So you're starting to wonder.
You would think it would just be a cut
our
and paste cookie cutter, same, just take the name
Again,
out and
think
add
of-
the new
Is
name.
is half the team unvaccinated? If there's another, if Boston enacts the same sort of policies that New York and Brooklyn has, do we have 4 Kyries on our hand? This is possible, like
It's a basketball question.
and it's and it becomes a basketball question. It's all of a sudden, are you risking losing your players for half the year or X amount of time? What if other cities start to enact visiting people can't come here or blah blah blah? You're
If
all
the
of a sudden,
Celtics,
yeah.
again, if the Celtics hypothetically, let's just say they have the most unvaccinated players in the league, they are firmly at a massive disadvantage against the rest of the league. If that's the case, we don't know who's vaccinated or unvaccinated, but if let's just say they have the most players that haven't gotten it, that's a legit question about the season, especially when we saw how it impacted last year. Again, they talk about last year like it was, and again, it was, you didn't have a vaccine last year, so you didn't have the step to take to be able to prevent all those losses. It was just terrible luck on their part. But you can't say that again this year if COVID engulfs this team and they're just missing guys left and right. All of a sudden, that's a real basketball question, and it has tangible impact on how the team does this year. They're just fortunate that they're getting this out of the way, as Ime said, before real games start. Yeah. Imagine if this Brown Horford thing hit them the opening week. They're traveling. All of a sudden, these guys are left from a big road trip.
Well,
you don't want this to be
the
story of the season again.
Well, no, I mean, they're lucky in that sense, but there's 13 other guys who you get it now. You're worrying about when are those going to pop up? If these guys were all out to dinner recently, then sometimes it takes a little bit longer to show up on one person's than another's, and they're going to be together all season. And I know that vaccinated players and unvaccinated players are going to be treated differently and maybe travel differently or have the different locker rooms. I don't know the complete details, but the NBA is going to do everything they can. But at the end of the day, if it's still going to go through a locker room, it's still going to go through a locker room, and you're going to have to deal with these. All of a sudden, you're not going to have an important player for a week or more.
If everybody knew
people in the chat, as they tend to do when we have this conversation, which is largely why I avoided and missed the point a little bit. We're not talking about whether you can get COVID while vaccinated.
No,
We're
I was
talking-
just gonna say.
I just want to be clear. We're talking that NBA
No.
rules. There are rules in certain cities that prevent you from playing basketball if you're not vaccinated. There are rules that make it harder to be part of team activities if you're not. It is difficult on your team as a fact. I'm not going to sit here and debate the other stuff with people, and I'm not really interested in it. It's not really what we're talking about. However, if Boston enacts a similar policy to New York, then there's a problem if there are any people on the Celtics who are not, because you're running into the same issues. It's what forced Andrew Wiggins to get vaccinated because he had to deal with it in San Fran. It's what's costing Kyrie Irving the entire season.
Well, not only that,
$16 million and and $183 million extension right now. So it has
whether
actual
you agree with it or not. Those are just
whether
the
you
facts.
agree or not. It's the facts of how it affects the Celtics and whether or not you can play. That's it.
Yeah.
So everyone else, save it. I'm not interested in hearing.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
There's a YouTube video for you somewhere else.
Yeah,
that you
go
can
find it.
debate
Exactly.
that.
We're not doing that here. We're saying that's what's happening. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
No, and if
it could be a problem.
If we knew 100% Brown and Horford were vaccinated, I think everyone would be feeling pretty fine about it. You go through your protocol, you get the negative test, and then you're back.
Because it's quick. Once you clear it, you're back. But it's longer. The process is longer if you're not.
Right.
You have to stay away longer if you're not. Plus, also, you're operating under different rules. If you have close contacts with people, now you're on the shelf for a much longer period of time versus someone who is. Those are just the rules.
We're left guessing here. Yeah.
They make it harder. You're left guessing, but it has on the court impact. It's like somebody being injury prone. They're just going to miss time on and off. And it's that inconsistency that the Nets didn't want to deal with when they told Kyrie to go screw. And that's right. So these are the issues. Okay. And so we don't know. We are left guessing a little bit, and we're reading into statements what is and what isn't. Maybe everybody is vaccinated besides at least one person who's kind of been public on the Celtics that they're not into it. And then it's not a problem. It's less of a problem. And then you just have to deal with breakthrough infections and pop-ups and stuff like that, which are going to happen throughout, it's happening everywhere. It's going to happen in the NBA.
If you want the Celtics, if you want the Celtics to have the best chance of winning this year, you want them to be fully vaccinated.
Somebody's telling me, somebody just said Kyrie went on Instagram Live.
Oh, Lord.
That must have been interesting.
But he's on there now. He's doing his thing. He's talking. Who knows?
He's going head to head with us. Good luck, buddy.
I know, right? Good luck, dude.
Idiot. Just when I thought you couldn't get any dumber.
Yeah, yes. Sham said on IG, I'm standing with all of those that believe what is right. Everybody's entitled to do what they feel is best for themselves. Seeing the way this is dividing our world up, it's sad to see. People are losing their jobs to mandates. So Kyrie confirming.
I'm out here trying to create that last.
Yeah, he's on there now.
Oh, so here's the thing.
Is this him that I'm hearing through some of these?
Yeah,
it's all fine and good, but this is kind of he's kind of retrofitting this excuse into things, because if you are standing for a cause and you don't tell anybody about that cause, and then you don't put the whole point of standing up for a cause when you have a platform like Kyrie is to use the platform to announce that you're doing this for a cause, not after you get caught and get told you can't play anymore to say, I was doing it for this reason. This is why it seems disingenuous. What's the point of having a cause if you're not going to use your platform, which he hadn't been up to this point? So I guess here he is now talking about it. So,
let's go enjoy.
Well, there'll be plenty of content to come out of that, I'm sure.
The saga
but
continues.
This is the sideshow, though, that, the Nets didn't want, right? And now they just can't, focus on basketball because there's so much else going on. I mean, that's probably why they just said, you know what, Kyrie, it's probably best that you do your thing and we're going to do ours. And if you change your mind and you want to join us, then, we'll go from there. It's probably what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyrie essentially saying what he said in that, or what someone's close to him said in that Shams report, it looks like. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's people close to Kyrie that wanted that out there. That's the narrative that they're going with right now. We'll see where this story goes. But anyway, we've gone on long enough. Thank you guys for watching. We're back on Friday. I'm not even going to – if we do final thoughts, we're going to go another 15 minutes, so I'm just going to hang up the phone.
We did them.
Good night, all.